fighting apathy. For those of you who don't know, I've been a soldier for about the past 10 years, and the vast majority of that time has been spent as a sniper. And I've done the job just about everywhere. I've done it here in garrison, I've done it overseas deployed, I've done it on every type of training objective, on actual objectives. It's just something that I've been doing for a very long time. And the vast majority of the time that you spend as a sniper is not cool. There's like a really sexy stigma behind what the actual job entails. And let me tell you, it does exist. You are doing that stuff maybe 1% of the time. The other 99% of the time, even operationally, what you are doing is sitting at an RNS site for hours on end, days on end, doing absolutely nothing more than waiting for like a 30-second window for your TI to get out of a car and walk from that car to a building so that you can call back and be like, hey, yo, our dude's here. And that's it. That's what you're there for. And I started thinking about that because it's really, really helped me a lot in my artistic endeavors. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm working on Tom. Like I've said before, this is my favorite character I've ever written. I'm working on my piece for my book. And it's really interesting because if I think about like my job, in the real world, like being a soldier, the greatest enemy that I'm fighting 99% of the time is apathy. And it's so necessary and important to fight that fight because when you're sitting on glass at like 2 o'clock in the morning, you haven't slept, no one's coming to relieve you. If you take your eye off the objective for a minute, 2 minutes to like throw rocks at the dirt or do whatever it is that soldiers do, you could miss your window. You could miss your window and that entire piece is burned. If you want to use it as a metaphor for art, like that entire piece is done. You've ruined it. And I started to think about that, as I was shading his duster right here. Like shading with a ballpoint pen is miserable. It takes hours. And there's like aspects of the piece that are like really fun to work on, like some of the more detailed stuff, like like his hand or obviously his face, that like that's kind of the sexy stuff. It's more engaging, but it's just as important to really fight that apathy when you're working on like large swaths of paper that it's just gradient shading. And if you succumb to that apathy, if you don't fight it, if you lose sight of the piece itself, it will ruin it. It's not the sexiest thing in the world, but it'll ruin the piece, and it's so, so important. And it's just something that I was thinking about as I was working on Tom, is like, as an artist, how necessary it is to fight that complacency. And, it's also kind of fun and poetic, just the different ways that the mediums of both occupation and craft have kind of intersected in my life, and I can learn from both of them, and they can both grow each other. I think that that's just kind of a fun thing to do and a fun thing to point out and recognize as I'm sitting here, on the precipice of publishing my first book and working on the pieces within. There might be like a fun metaphor for life in that analogy. I don't know. I'm not really here to focus on that or have a philosophical argument about it. I just think that it was kind of a fun thing to point out while I'm sitting here working on Tom. Like I said, he's absolutely my favorite character. I'm probably going to do a video on him super soon. I'm loving how this piece is turning out. But yeah, that's pretty much it, just fighting apathy.